this was just part of his broader scheme of trying to hawk bullshit licensing products onto his supporters, including his hats and shirts, water, wine, Trump University, Trump Steaks, Trump Airlines. This guy's entire life is just a shitty licensing deal on 2 feet.
I'm Tommy Vietor.
I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
And today we're going to be drafting the worst of Trump's 2024 campaign. This episode of Liberal Tears is brought to you by ZBiotics, the pre-alcohol probiotic. Your first drink for a better tomorrow.
We are winding down now. Depending on when you're watching this, we are weeks or days away from the election actually happening. And this has been a campaign with a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
And so we thought it would only be fair if we kind of summed up all that bullshit into a neat little bow.
Yeah, and hopefully inspire you to go to votesaveamerica.com to find ways for you to get involved. I'm going to flip a coin to see who goes first. Call in the air.
Heads.
Tails. Never fails, pal. Okay. There's a lot of good options here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go...
This campaign isn't exactly rife with good moments.
No. I'm going to go with JD Vance.
All right.
I think we got a clip.
It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe... Well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday and one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but it's good. I love you guys. But
the 538 website does, an average of the approval rating for the various candidates. JD Vance is at 45% unfavorable, 35% favorable. That is not good. Also, he helped deliver the Taylor Swift endorsement to Kamala Harris.
That's right.
Thank you for that. He brought childless cat ladies into the lexicon. He is really just an insufferable person with a terrible personality.
It's true. He's been a complete net negative to Trump's campaign. I can't actually think of one positive thing that he's done. He doesn't deliver some swing state that Donald Trump wouldn't have been able to get on his own. He doesn't offer some permission structure for moderate voters, for women, for people of color. None of that. He is just a carbon copy of Trump without any of the charisma that his supporters see. He's just like a robot version that just delivers Trumpism.
Yeah, unqualified robot. Great work.
I can't believe you didn't pick this one, Tommy, and I think we can pretty much end it after this, but I'm going to go with the switch from Biden to Harris.
Wow, big insult to Joe Biden.
We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we need everybody here.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe.
Here's the deal. Donald Trump's campaign was scientifically engineered to be able to go up against Joe Biden. He had no other campaign other than just pointing to the guy across from him and saying, this guy is old, this guy is in the throes of cognitive decline. And the second that Joe Biden decided to step aside, it became so abundantly obvious that Trump has no idea not only how to run against Kamala Harris, but no idea how to run against anybody who's not named Joe Biden. And so he started throwing spaghetti against the wall, and he would attack Kamala Harris at the National Association of Black Journalists and say that he wasn't sure if she was black. He would
That's later on the list, pal.
He would go up in Mar-a-Lago and claim that his rallies were bigger than Martin. He had no idea how to run a campaign against a woman of color who was stronger than him, and every day has just been his flailing attempt to figure out some way to regain his footing, and he hasn't been able to do that thus far.
Yeah, I think, jokes aside, I think that Donald Trump was on track to win like 400 electoral votes.
No, it's true. Donald Trump was competitive in Minnesota and New Mexico. You're not winning the electoral map if you're using your dollars not to contest swing states, but contest otherwise really safe blue states across the country.
Yeah. Okay, so with my next pick, I'm going to go with a version of this that doesn't insult our president. The 2024 RNC. I'm wondering what this clip is.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the most patriotic American badass on earth, President Donald J. Trump.
Let's select the braveheart of our time, Donald J. Trump, to get our economy back on track, restore the American dream, and make America great again.
Make America great again.
Make America great again.
Make America great again.
They spent 4 days, millions of dollars, putting together an event that was entirely designed to attack a guy who ended up not being on the ballot. I mean, there's like a couple big moments in your campaign where you get to drive a message. There's the debates, now singular, there's the convention, and that's about it. And Trump went into his convention on kind of a riding high after the Butler shooting attempt. And then they did 4 days of anti-Biden programming, and then it was all for nothing. Horrible, horrible couple days for him.
I also can't believe you didn't pick this one, Tommy, but I'm just gonna solidify my win here and say they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
Now, to your point, you only have a couple of moments during this campaign to really reach a major audience. Donald Trump was able to reach an audience of 50, 60, 70 million people during that debate, his only debate with Kamala Harris. And his whole point in this debate was to try to prove that he was fit, that he was stronger than her. And she was able to bait him with the ease of someone dangling a cookie in front of a 4-year-old, to the point where he was screaming like a lunatic on that stage that migrants are consuming your pets out in Ohio. Obviously, patently untrue. Even Republicans came out and said that it wasn't true. But it shows not just that he's a lunatic and unfit and unhinged and incapable of holding the highest office, but also that there is a lot of danger in having somebody who can be so easily baited, so easily manipulated. Knowing how important this debate was, knowing how many people were watching him, he was still able to fall victim to this basic attack by Kamala Harris, just him attacking him on his rallies, calling his rallies boring. Imagine what Vladimir Putin is able to do in a one-on-one, in a private room somewhere, if he wants to get what he wants and he has Donald Trump, and all he has to do is pat him on the head or say something that he knows is going to throw him off his game a little bit, and he can immediately get whatever he needs.
Or one of those 7 phone calls since he left the presidency.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, look, that moment highlighted Trump's racism and cruelty and just all the things people hate about him. So, yeah, it was a terrible debate all around. We should have just said the whole debate. I'm going to go with Project 2025.
What could a second Trump administration look like?
Project 2025.
Project 2025.
This 922-page handbook
concentrates power solely in the hands of the president.
Trump's Project 2025 agenda
is a threat to middle-class families.
Cutting Social Security benefits.
Cuts to Medicare. Higher taxes for working-class Americans.
Dismantling the Departments of Education. Restricting abortion rights.
Donald Trump wants to take our country backward, but we are not going back.
So this is an amazing story about the power of just messaging and branding and discipline, because no one knew what Project 2025 was a few months ago, and now it is universally known and wildly unpopular.
I believe the last polling had it down to 4% approval.
Yeah. I mean, according to a recent NBC poll, 57% of registered voters had negative feelings about Project 2025, including 52% of independents and 33% of Republicans. It was the most unpopular thing in the whole poll. It was below socialism, which has been demagogued.
Not socialism.
Not social. Oh, not my socialism. Trump is also just furious that Democrats have tied Project 2025 around his neck like an anvil. But it's also completely his fault.
Totally.
Because when you don't put forward any policy ideas, of course people are going to look to what your well-funded donors and former staffers are doing, especially when they're obsessed with getting credit for putting together this, plan for Trump's first term.
All right, for my next choice, I'm going to go with the Trump trials.
Guilty. Donald Trump found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. All 34 are felonies. Donald Trump has now been convicted of 34 different felony crimes by a jury of his peers in Manhattan.
See, this is especially important because for so long we have heard Democrats speak about Donald Trump's criminality. But this is the one instance where you finally have a grand jury that was sat and approved by Donald Trump's own lawyers who listened to the facts of the case and returned 34 indictments against him. This is where, regardless of how people felt in the political universe, but the actual legal system kind of had their say just based on the facts, just based on people who, were part of independent grand juries or grand juries themselves. And it also kind of puts on full display why Donald Trump is so desperate to win this election. It's because his very freedom is on the line. He's facing not only sentencing in New York, but the rest of these prosecutions in D.C., in Georgia, and in Florida once that case is brought from the 11th Circuit back down to the trial track. So this is really existential for him and is kind of responsible for his desperation in this campaign.
Brian. This rarely happens, but you done fucked up, okay? This was a huge win for him, these trials. The indictments were put in place. It rallied the Republican Party around him in the primary, and then he kicked the rest of these hearings and indictments and criminal trials well past the election. The classified documents, January 6th, we're not going to hear about any of that in court for the election. Donald Trump is the victor when it comes to the Trump trials. Sure, it kept him off the campaign trail. Sure, it cost him a bunch of money in legal fees. Tie ball game. You fucked up bad. For my next choice, after Brian's massive error, I'm going to pick the concepts of a healthcare plan.
Yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that.
We're talking about healthcare, something that matters to every single voter, a thing that, not just political junkies, but real people vote on when they go to the polls. There has been this decade-plus long effort to repeal Obamacare, and it was wildly unpopular because it would have led to medical bankruptcies. It would have gotten rid of protections for pre-existing conditions. It would have stripped away health care for all the people who got it through Medicare expansion. So with that as the backdrop, Trump, 9 years into this process he started, not having a health care plan that he would put in place when he tore up the ACA was a disaster. This was a disastrous debate answer on top of many other ones that you highlighted earlier.
Right, and it's especially important because, this one issue is why Democrats so overwhelmingly won the 2018 midterms.
Right.
They won the House by the biggest margin in modern American history, took 41 seats in the midterms solely on the back of Republicans trying endlessly, breathlessly to repeal the ACA.
Goddamn right.
For my next choice, I'm going to go with Donald Trump's hideous $100,000 watches.
This is
Let's
a
see
good
the
one.
clip.
I wanted this one.
It's your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, here to introduce something really special. I think you're going to love it. My new Trump watches. This isn't just any watch. It's one of the best watches made with almost 200 grams of gold and more than 100 real diamonds. That's a lot of diamonds. I love gold. I love diamonds. We all do. I have watch number one, and I'm going to keep it. It's mine, and that's the way I want to have it. Get your Trump watch right now. It's Trump time.
This, I think, is so funny for two reasons. The first is that his campaign is solely predicated on this idea that the economy is terrible and no one can afford anything,
Right.
and your 401k is in
Inflation,
tatters,
yeah.
at the same time that he's trying to hawk a $100,000 watch, which is why it's so weird, Tommy, that you bought the second ever watch.
Well, it fit really well.
It fit really well. That's what you told me,
The
yeah.
Bulwark reported that they think the watches cost close to 20 grand.
Yeah, I
So a
read
nice
this.
little 5x markup.
Yeah, but this is also just so indicative of the grift that Donald Trump is thrusting upon his supporters. Think about what this guy has tried to sell in this campaign. $2 bills, silver coins with his face on them, his trading cards, NFTs, crypto, pieces of his suit that he was wearing in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Forgot about
And this
that.
was just part of his broader scheme of trying to hawk bullshit licensing products onto his supporters, including his hats and shirts, water, wine, Trump University, Trump Steaks, Trump Airlines. This guy's entire life is just a shitty licensing deal on 2 feet. And all he's ever tried to do is just hawk shit onto people who trust him enough to buy this stuff.
I'm going to go with my last pick. I can't believe this one fell this
Well,
far.
here we go.
Genuinely. Trump bombs with black journalists. I think we got a clip.
I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black woman.
I
She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't.
That was very awkward to watch. Again, Trump is trying to make inroads with black voters. It seems like he may be having some success with younger black men. Look, I'm not the target demographic here, but I have to imagine that insulting Kamala Harris like that did not help. This was actually a real opportunity for the campaign because Trump was getting credit for doing a real interview, taking tough questions, leaving his little Fox News safe space, and he basically self-immolated upon sitting down in that chair on stage. It went from like interesting outreach, maybe they're doing something smart narrative, to days of news about what a gigantic asshole he is.
My last choice. Wow, I can't believe this one made it all the way to the bottom of the list. I'm going to go with Elon Musk's awkward rally appearance.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
Woof.
They don't know what Dark Brandon is, you dork. You fucking overly online dork.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Elon is so aggressively online. Elon has single-handedly disabused me of the notion that money will make you happy because he's got more money than anybody on the face of the earth in the history of the world, and he seems so aggressively unhappy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade my life for Elon's in a million years.
If a divorce could become a human being, that's what you get. The only thing I was thinking about this one, the reason I had it ranked low, as you did too, was because Trump gives Elon Musk a couple minutes at this rally to jump around like an idiot and make a fool of himself. And in exchange, he got tens, if not $100 million from Elon's super PAC. And he also got Elon to like take Twitter and fully rig it for Trump and for Republicans.
Yeah.
So I think like this relationship has certainly benefited Trump, but it was not a good speech. Let's face it, guys, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the way I used to. And I often have to make a choice. Do I have a fun night or do I have a fun next day? That was until I found ZBiotics pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. We just wrapped up our final tour swing before the election. And look, we're feeling a little anxious. And so, when we go to these shows, when we go to a new town, you're going to go out to dinner, you're going to have a drink or two. You need to feel your best the next day. That is why I always pack a ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic little vial with me wherever I go, because I know I will be ready to rock the next morning if I take it. Go to zbiotics.com/rank to get 15% off your first order when you use rank at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Thank you, ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol, for sponsoring this video and our good times.
So that's the end of our draft. Tommy, you won the coin flip. You went first, now you're going to do a summary first.
And win. JD Vance. Need I say more? One of the most unpopular people in political life. He's a drag on the ticket, and he delivered Taylor Swift to Kamala Harris's arms. The RNC was 4 unbelievably expensive, wasted days of attacks on Joe Biden, a man who is no longer on the ticket. Then we got Project 2025, something no one had ever heard of. Democrats lifted it up, branded it in the worst way possible, and tied it around Donald Trump's neck, and it is still hanging there like an anvil, hurting his electoral chances. Then we have concept of a healthcare plan, which reminded voters that Donald Trump spent 4 years trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act. It was one of the most unpopular things he did, and he still, all these years later, doesn't have a plan to replace it, which just makes you wonder what he's going to do to you if he gets power again. And then finally, the NABJ event, Trump took an opportunity to grow his base, to reach more people, and insulted all of them to their face in the most obnoxious way possible, reminding everyone who watched why he's a terrible person that they do not want in their life and living room for another 4 years.
Yeah, a middling list from Tommy. First off, Elon Musk on that stage with Donald Trump, just one more example of a billionaire supporting a billionaire in a campaign focused on Donald Trump helping rich people like him. Next, Trump hawking $100,000 watches is another proof point of a lifelong grifter hawking bullshit to his marks. From crypto to NFTs, trading cards, hats, shirts, shoes, coins, $2 bills, he sees his supporters not as people, but as piggy banks to just turn over and empty out. The Trump trials validates what we've been saying all along, that Donald Trump's crimes are real, they are not a hoax, they are not witch hunts, and they are also the first step toward accountability that Trump has eluded for his entire life. Finally, we're getting into the heavy hitters here. They're eating cats and dogs.
Good one.
That was the beginning of the end for Donald Trump. It was the physical manifestation of Donald Trump's inability to know how to run against Kamala Harris. He also blew it in front of tens of millions of people on that debate stage and proved himself as unhinged as we've all been calling him all along. And finally, You cannot compete with this one. The switch. Trump's campaign was scientifically engineered to beat one man, and that's Joe Biden. He had zero plan to beat Kamala Harris, wasted the entire RNC, flailed around for weeks, and now we are just seeing the last gasps of a presidential campaign that was never organized to face somebody like Kamala Harris, and it's proving itself out in the polls right now. Tommy, you might remember that in the last episode where we ranked the weirdest Republicans, you lost pretty decisively, 44% to 56%. This is why it's so important, folks, to go to the community tab and vote. So Tommy lost last time, and, you know, I couldn't get over feeling like you got away easy.
The wing one? Okay. The ranch is the most disgusting thing I've had in a long time.
In honor of you being a worldo, we're going all the way to the other side of the world and landing in Northern Europe, where we have a viral challenge for something called Surströmming.
I have heard about this.
So, all we ask, simply enough, is for you to open up this can, this delicacy from, I believe it's Sweden, and just take a little bite.
Do you hear that noise? Can you smell this? Do you smell this yet? You don't fucking smell this? I can't. Jesus Christ. I'm not promising this is going down the hatch. Fucking hate you. I'm out. I'm out. That's so salty.
You know what, Tommy? One quick bite.
No. I'm out.
Is it really that bad?
It's fucking...
It sounds worse after he took a bite.
So that's our show. If you enjoyed that, the fact is that there's only one person who properly knows how to dole out punishments on that show, and that's me. So head over to the community tab, make sure you vote for me in this final episode, and with that said, also important in this final episode, head over to votesaveamerica.com. Do your part to make sure that we win this election. We've done a lot of work for these last 4 years. This is when it counts. So again, head over to votesaveamerica.com, and then head over to the community tab and make sure that Tommy has to suffer another punishment like this one real soon. What do you say, Tommy?
I'm a grown adult. I'm a 44-year-old man. I'm being hazed like a freshman in college by you. Fucking disgusting fish platter hell.
And if you want more of that, you know what to do.